Welcome back to eWith Diamond Interviews, where we spotlight the most extraordinary women in technology, leaders who are shaping up the future of innovation, AI, and modern business. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined with Carolyn Duby, Field CTO and cybersecurity go-to-market leader at Cloudera. Carolyn's career journey is nothing short of extraordinary, starting with a software engineer, co-founding her own tech company, leading complex cybersecurity transformations, and now helping global organizations harness the power of AI and data while keeping security at the heart of it. She's a regular speaker at industry-leading conferences and mentor for the next generation women in tech and fierce advocate for building secure, inclusive, and future-ready technology ecosystem. Welcome, Carolyn.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been wonderful meeting you and getting involved with eWIT. Sounds like a really great organization.
Thank you, Carolyn. And your story is really inspiring. So I wanted to ask one more question. You were wearing so many hats, starting from an engineer, founder, cybersecurity strategist, and now field CTO. If you could only choose one moment in your career that really truly surprised you or delighted you, what would it be and why?
That is a really great question. I've had, there's been a lot of change within my career according to, just the time that I've been out. But really the thing that surprised me most was how I got into the sales and working with customers. So when I got into software, I got really excited about building stuff, and I loved building stuff and doing that. But I never really pictured myself as somebody who went out to talk to customers, who maybe did sales, went off and spoke at conferences. It wasn't really something that ever crossed my mind. But I found out, it just happened just very spontaneously. They needed somebody, I was very early in my career, and they needed somebody in my company to go out and explain new features. We had done a whole bunch of new features. It was things that I had worked on. And I got out there and I started working with the customers, and I was like, this is great. It gave me this whole new perspective. I'm building this stuff, which is fun, but without really getting that feedback into the loop of understanding, here's how the customers, here's the pain, here's how they're actually using the product. I just found out how valuable that was and how much I enjoyed doing it, going out and meeting people. I'm a very, very, outgoing person. I like to meet people. So that was really surprising to me. I kind of pictured myself as a person who would go out and just build stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like the role of relationship building, right, and really understanding the customer kind of filled in the gaps for you from a technical perspective, but really kind of fulfilled you with a balanced life between business, customer success, and also technology.
Yeah, I think I learned that customer success was key from the very beginning.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about your journey and lessons, because it sounds like you had a very interesting career, right? It spans from the co-founding, Pathfinder Solutions to leading cybersecurity and AI strategy at Cloudera. What lessons you've learned from your startup days, and what maybe you took away with it, and what is your new global tech role kind of tricks that you use to be a great leader and also balance life?
We were not just a startup, we were a bootstrapped startup. So we funded ourselves through, doing services and then feeding part of that back into the engineering and the development of the tool set that we were selling. So it was a very unique kind of situation. I learned to do more with less. I learned to be very entrepreneurial in how I approached things, to really be very dynamic and think about, new markets and the business aspects. And it really launched my career, and it's very transformative. It gave me the confidence to feel like I could do different things. So when you work in a startup, especially a bootstrap startup, you do everything, literally from product development, product management, sales, marketing, taking out the trash, doing events, right? Like you were everything in the company, just a few people. And I think that really gave me the confidence that I could do different things and to really have that kind of cross-functional ability across different things, other than just being like, okay, I'm a person who codes and I do code reviews. It really gave me that whole total picture of what it was to run a company. And I've taken that through my entire career. And I would say Cloudera, out of all of the companies that I worked for, it's one of the more entrepreneurial out there. It's really a company that they give, especially in the field CTO position, they kind of give you a lot of leeway in terms of, what kinds of things that you're working on. And I've learned a lot working at Cloudera. We're constantly going through, especially in the AI space, right? Like the AI space has just like exploded in the last couple of years. So it's just like constant learning and constant growing. So, I think it's been a great experience, but I do love those entrepreneurial roots. And I do love, to look at new business models. I think from the perspective of looking at the market from a competitive and a strategic standpoint, having that experience of running my own company, of understanding how funding works and how to make, how to stay in business, right? I love that whole area. I would definitely do it again.
It sounds like you didn't lose your entrepreneurial spirit, and this company, even though it's large, it gave you opportunity to be visionary and also tactical, strategic, where you actually can experiment, right? Sometimes in the corporate world, you actually kind of have to learn how to be more in the framework of the culture, right? So it seems like this is a better way to become a next level leader in a bigger company with this freedom that you have.
Yeah, absolutely.
And question about leaping into the C-level title. Like a lot of women always feel that first of all, there's not a lot of CTOs, especially in the world that are female leaders. But is there anything that really pushed you to that next level? Is there anything, any person who helped you, or what are the tricks that you had or you used to really become that spokesperson for yourself and then become the CTO?
So I think, it's really important to be in charge of your own career, because no one's going to do it for you. Your manager is not going to do it for you. They are not going to give you the drive and the curiosity, and they're not going to necessarily, there are some really great mentors out there and really great people who are going to help to propel your career forward. But your manager's job is to do whatever the business of the company is. And, career building, it's great. It helps with the retention, but it's not job one. So you have to be in charge of your own career and understanding, what are the next steps. So, as I got into the company in Cloudera, I had come in as a senior solutions engineer, but I had seen the field CTOs from my company, and in fact, the field CTOs were actually the reason why I wanted to go to Cloudera in the first place. It was I joined on the Hortonworks side. We came through for the merger, but I had seen the field CTOs there. It was very inspirational. I said, "This is a great job. I want to do this job." And then a few months later, I got a recruiting LinkedIn outreach from Hortonworks, which is now Cloudera. And the rest is history, right? I came in as a senior solutions engineer. I worked up through the ladder. It's a very competitive ladder to work up, right? Like to get to be a principal solutions engineer at Cloudera, there's a long process you have to go through. There's many hoops you have to jump through, and then to eventually become field CTO, there's only 3 of us in the company. So it's a challenging role. I had a lot of help along the way in terms of sponsors from my organization. I have some really great sponsors from my C-suite now. Mary Wells, who's in our chief marketing officer, is really great. Leo and Sergio, our chief product officer and CTO, and then obviously Frank O'Dowd, who's our chief revenue officer. So I feel like there's a lot of really good support within the organization. But when it really comes down to it, you've got to search that out. You've got to figure out what your next steps are and to keep yourself constantly evolving.
Beautiful. It seems like, yes, you need sponsors. Yes, you need the right place, and you need to be in the right place in the right time. But also, you really need to work hard on what is your end goal, right? And even seeing that you wanted that role, and then you just leap towards that and work hard on it. I love it. And since you are working on innovation, AI, cybersecurity, I wanted to ask you about the future of tech. And, like with your vantage point across the hybrid cloud, AI, cybersecurity, what would be the major shifts that are coming out with the leaders, and how do we prepare for it? I know it's so rapidly changing. We can't even think, 12 months, 5 years, but in the next few months, in the next 6 months, where do you see like the biggest leaps, and how do we get ready for it?
So there's really a lot happening in the industry. AI is obviously a huge disruptor at the moment. It's going to rapidly change the whole competitive landscape, right? If you look at the research, surveys that have gone out, a majority of CEOs feel like they have to rewrite their playbook because what they were doing before is not working. Right? Or it's not going to work, not going to keep them competitive. Also, we have a lot of change. There's just constant disruption, for just the geopolitical situation. You've got wars that are happening. You've got tariffs. You've got just major rapid shifts in, just the way that things work, right? So, and then we have a lot of future. We've already had a lot of change. But now we have things like quantum, right? We have AI, which is interesting, but now we have quantum. And now we have, what about if you take quantum and AI and you put them together, right? Now you have quantum AI, which is even more powerful than the AI that we have together right now. So I think that there's a lot of rapid changes that are on the map. There's a lot of talk right now about the future of work. I think that's something definitely, really secret sauce right now is for companies to figure out, how do I manage the change? How do I prepare my workforce? And how do I introduce things like AI and all of these rapid changes in a way that's responsible and in a way that retains and motivates the workforce? Because a lot of stuff, frankly, that I hear CEOs talking about is not very motivational for people who are looking for jobs, right? Like you get the CEO says, well, we're gonna lay off 50% of our people because we're going to replace them with AI. And it's like, who wants to go work for a company that's going to lay off 50% of its people? So, I think it's really the responsible use, the working together in an AI first way that's responsible and that really helps to work with your workforce. I think that's the secret sauce.
For sure. You mentioned a few things, and I think one thing that I'm catching is the roles are changing too, right? Especially C-level roles as well. If you think about your CMO, right? I recently thought about how CMO roles is evolving, right? They have to think about all of the AI tools. How are they appearing in those areas with the GEO and SEO? And is there really way for us to keep those roles in the vision that they have, or combining them into something different? Do you feel that the roles will be evolving at the C-level, and of course, other roles that will be created with AI? And how do we adapt to that and make sure that we actually embrace that with the people that we have, and without having to lay off a big number?
Yeah. I think that the C-level roles especially are changing a lot. And it used to be where you had the chief data officer, you had the CIO, and they were in charge of data. Well, guess what? Everybody needs to be good at data. everybody across the organization, the CFO, the CIO, the CTO, everybody's got to be good at data. And everybody's got to learn how to use it effectively. So, and I think the other thing is too, that these types of digital transformation with things like AI, and even the things that have come before, it really takes a lot of cross coordination, because it's not just tech. It's tech, it's people, it's process, it's the whole culture within the organization. So I think we're going to have to get a lot more cross-functional as C-level people. We're going to have to learn how to work together more effectively, and to be better at doing these sorts of big, sweeping types of innovation. Because one of the top questions I get when talking to customers is they really want to know, my CTO or my CIO wants to know, what can I do to make these big changes, right? Like, how can I get that AI use case that's going to cause the great breakthrough, right? Well, it's not just a technology problem. You have to work throughout the organization. You have to really collaborate. And I think that's things where, a lot of times we're siloed, and we need to be much better at collaborating.
Absolutely. And Carolyn, I think you bring a point where women bring a different perspective as well in leadership, because we try to, especially in C-level roles, to be really connected to business, right? Technology and business, and looking at all different areas and trying to be that glue and connector with all those things. And from your side, if you think about your contribution to other areas, where do you think you have the most impact that you can take on a different vertical or different area of Cloudera?
So, I work extensively in cross-functional projects. I work very closely with our engineering organization in terms of, just evolution of the product. And then also through our marketing organization with the messaging and customer briefings. And then, of course, with the sales and the solutions engineering organization. So we have to be very cross-functional where I'm at with Cloudera. And I think, going forward, the number one concern that I see from a lot of marketing and sales organizations, like, how do I get the marketing and the sales organization to work together, right? Because, you both have to be in sync, like the messaging and the actual sales. So it's really the secret sauce is how you're going to work together.
For sure, absolutely. I think marketing and sales, sometimes they have such different KPIs, and if they actually combine and look at it as one plan towards business and customer, maybe that would be a better way to collaborate. And from your perspective, I want to take it to a different side. What are some of the interesting things that you use as a leader? Maybe tools, AI tools, or what are your no-nos or absolutely yes, this is how I lead? And in day-to-day life, just to give some of our listeners a perspective about your leadership style.
I like to keep people in the loop. I like to coordinate with other folks. I really like to try and figure out what's the best way to interact with a person. I found in sales, it's important to work with other people, but not everybody collaborates in the same way. Some people love it when you Slack them. Some people like it are just like, you got to call them on the cell phone. Some people are in email, right? So really, really cracking that, how to interact with people in a way that's effective, and then how building relationships within your own organization and building that kind of trusted advisor relationship within the organization. So I think, if you build the relationships and you do that kind of interaction, and you really try to include everyone, when you're doing a project, being very sensitive to, maybe there's the quiet person that really has a lot of things to say, and a lot of really good at information, but doesn't necessarily feel comfortable, communicating in a particular style. So really, valuing each person and understanding each person and how they work together, I think is really important. And once you master that, you understand how to get everybody to work together. And that's really the secret, is really getting all of the parts of the system. That's where I think being an engineer helps me, right? Because I understand, okay, I've got all these pieces of the system, they work together. A system is really a set of components and APIs that work together, right? Well, guess what? Humans are similar. So you have to get all of your, people working together and everyone communicating and kind of being on the same page. So good old fashioned communication and collaboration.
Yeah, but also empathy, and then the way you understand each person, taking time to really crack that, that code for this particular person and get to really know that person. And last question before we go, what would be one piece of advice you would give to a female engineer right now starting and learning an AI tools, and if they want to really get to the next level or get into a different role?
Yeah, so I would say be curious, ask questions, and always be learning. So you're going to have to constantly be learning new things, gaining new skills, staying up with the the technology as it is. But then also I would say be curious and be courageous. You're going to go out and you're going to have things that you're going to fail at. You're going to try something, it's going to be terrible. You're either going to hate it or you're going to love it, or it's going to be something that's just not, just not your style, or maybe it is your style. But you have to go out and try new things and be courageous. And I think as women, that's something that sometimes we have trouble with. We always want to be successful. We want to get the A. We want to, stand out, right? And so I think that's be curious, be courageous, and then also talk about your work. Share your work with other people, because so much as women, we go off and we do something and then we're on to the next thing and nobody knows that we did that thing. We're just kind of thinking that, oh, well, everybody's going to notice that I did that. And that's not the way it works. So you need to talk about yourself in an excited and nice way, not, boasting or whatever, but, you need to make sure that everybody knows what you did.
I love it. It's more like a playbook. I hope that everybody will write it down and really be in action. Thank you so much, Carolyn, for joining us. It's been a pleasure hearing your story, and also really kind of thinking how does a new generation of technology leaders shaping up and changing the way that companies run technology and run companies as well. So thank you.
Thank you. It's been great talking with you today, and love the conversation.
Yes, I hope to see you in person soon, and please stay tuned for other episodes.
Sounds good.